I heard a long time ago. I heard a story about the little boy on the moon. And I heard other stories about the man on the moon, about the dancing rabbit on the moon. There's all kinds of stories about the moon, of course, because every culture on the face of the earth looked up at night and saw the moon. And so every culture have their own stories about the moon. So our people say that there's a little boy on the moon with 2 pails of water. He's standing up there. We call him Tagapis. And Tagapis is a contraction of the phrase Atakapasis, which means little spirit. And so Tagapis is standing on the moon with 2 pails of water. And Tagapis tells a story about how we should be treating people less fortunate than ourselves. How we should be treating homeless people. How we should be treating orphaned people. How we should be treating anybody that comes into your house or into your place of dwelling. That this is how they should be treated. You should treat them with kindness. You should treat them with exception. You should try to feed them and whatever, so on and so forth. And so anyways, the story about Tagapis is Tagapis was a little boy, and at some point during his life, something had happened to his family, and his family died, and he was the only one left. So in this certain village, he was the only one left. He was an orphan, and so these people decided to take him in. So they took Tagapis in, but they didn't treat him good. He was sent to do sort of like a Cinderella story. He was told to do all the crappy work nobody else wanted to do, and he was basically told, you got to listen or we're going to throw you out. And so everything, he was given all the crappy jobs to do. And one night in the wintertime, in the middle of the night, he was told he had to go get water at the lake. He had to take, because at the lake there was a hole, but it was covered up so it wouldn't freeze up too hard. So he would go out there and he uncover the hole and get water. So one night he was doing that, and it was particularly cold, and there was a full moon. So he was standing out there with 2 pails of water, and it was cold, and he was crying, and he was looking up at Grandmother Moon, telling her how cold he was, how scared he was, how lonely he was, how hungry he was, and how unloved he felt. And so Grandmother Moon felt sorry for him, so she took him up to live with her, so he could stay with her throughout the rest of the time. And then she put him on the moon just to remind us that how we should be treating people, that we shouldn't put our needs, our wants first and foremost, and that we should think about others. And so that's the story of Tagapis. He's standing in the sky.